Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Hartman spins free out front. Kaprizov scores! A power play goal, his 36th of the year, and the Wild have the game's first goal. Out front, Zuccarello to Hartman. He scores! Kaprizov for Eriksson. Back to Zuccarello. Fiala scores! What a win for the Wild!
Yep.
There it is. There it is.
The flag.
Wild flag. 2003 run to the Western Conference Finals.
You know, there's no room for petty bull.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, that's it. That's it. The flag will wave again.
Dex, hit that again. Hit that again. Here, let me turn this off for you. Sorry. There you go.
You know, there's no room for petty bull.
Yep.
Yeah, you damn right. You damn right. Sorry, this is
awesome. To the races today.
My contract says when that song plays, I got to wave the flag.
My button bar is going wild here. I got to restart this thing. So, all right, Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment, therapy, speculation, and we always go through our statements on a Monday, and we're going to try and go through these statements without slapping each other. Okay, so no slaps. Can we handle that?
Well, no, yes, because if I'm mad, I'm going to punch you guys. I'm not going to slap you. I'm going to punch you if I'm that mad.
Well, Dex, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off then. Start with a little joke here.
A little jokey.
Colorado Avalanche. What do the five fingers say to the face? Slap! The Wild provided a formula to slap the mighty Colorado Avalanche in the face last night for an overtime win. And here's your ingredients for that five-finger slap, right? You need stellar goaltending, which you got from Cam Talbot. You need timely special teams, which you got 2 power play goals, including the game winner from Kevin Fiala. You also need your star players to come through, right? Kirill Kaprizov has a big night last night, also gets a goal and gets the top line going. And I think the most important ingredient in that five-finger slap is slapping the top line of Colorado with Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen and taking them away from their game and off the score sheet. That's how you beat Colorado, is taking them and flustering them. They forced Nathan MacKinnon into dropping the gloves last night. Dumbo rocks a nice hit on Rantanen. It bothers MacKinnon, and then MacKinnon has to sit in the box for 5 minutes. That'd be almost basically the equivalent of Kirill Kaprizov dropping the gloves, and then you're without your star player for 5 minutes in the third period of a very important game.
I will say it feels a little unsustainable to like trick him into sitting in the box for 5 minutes every game, but it definitely worked last night.
I would say it's more of the formula of taking away from their game, right? Because like they didn't have they weren't able to get on the score sheet. They were -1 on the ice. That top line was, and you flustered them. You made them do something dumb, right? It's probably not sustainable for them to be in the box or fighting like that. But you force their hand to do something irrational, and that's a slap. That's a slap in the face to the Colorado Avalanche.
God, bring that on, man. That was so much fun last night. That building was unbelievable.
Yeah, you're talking about the Oscars there for a second.
No, I'm sure a lot of people can talk about that all day long here,
which we will later.
And for like 2 weeks now. But to Dex's point, Phil, I think the key here is it's not that MacKinnon's going to necessarily fight, but it's going to be the Avalanche's biggest weakness is they have some players who get thrown off their games in the playoffs. The Golden Knights basically did that to them in the second round last year. And so what we saw last night, to me, and this is my favorite thing about playoffs, is when you can begin to set the recipe for success. I think it's true in hockey. I think it's true in basketball, potentially not as much, but you start to sort of like try some of the stuff that you're going to do in a potential playoff series. Mm-hmm. And Eriksson Ek on MacKinnon will be, I think, the best formula that the Wild's had for a potential playoff upset since Wes Walz on Peter Forsberg in 2003. Because Walz drove Forsberg crazy to the point of just complete distraction. So I think what we saw last night was sort of dipping the toe in the water of what can we do to throw these guys off? Because if we just try and beat them, we're not going to. And I love taking their star player and frustrating him, because that is an absolutely beautiful thing to watch from the Wild side.
Would you mind if the Hockey Whisperer went second here on statements?
Oh, no, actually,
yeah,
no.
by all means,
I
Whisperer.
know, Judd's Hockey Show, you guys got your shots.
We went
in
long
last night.
time last night, so you go right ahead.
Okay, by the way, Judd's Hockey Show, you can find that as part of the Mackey and Judd podcast feed, Score North YouTube channel. And if you just want Judd's Hockey Show without the other Mackey and Judd nonsense, you can find it on its own, Apple, Spotify, etc. Okay? Another formula you need if you plan on, I don't know, going deep in the playoffs or upsetting the Avalanche is elite goaltending.
Oh, man.
And the Wild have that in Cam Talbot, who is one of the hottest goaltenders in the NHL over the past 3 weeks. 7 consecutive wins by Cam Talbot, and 2 goals or fewer allowed in 6 of those 7 wins. It's nice to have a number 1 elite goalie, the caliber of Cam Talbot, with a reliable backup with playoff experience in Marc-Andre Fleury.
Are you trying to annoy me, or are you like trying to create
7
a
straight wins. Get the
controversy?
flag
Hold on,
for Cam Talbot.
Get it.
Hold on, I gotta get the flag. Flags back out. Flags fly forever.
I mean, you can't
slap
argue. You can't argue with the way he's been playing lately.
No.
The response, he is listen, he's saying all the right things, but you know that his ego is a little bit bruised.
Yes.
There's a pride factor, and he is stepping up and playing the best hockey of the season in net. Just throwing it out there.
No, you're 1,000% right. No, we talked about this extensively last night, and what you just said is spot on. And Cam Talbot had started to turn his game around before the Fleury trade, but in the 3 games since then, he has been spectacular. And I agree with you. I think his pride was challenged, and Marc-Andre Fleury, I think, is beloved. His teammates, Cam Talbot. So this is not you're a jerk and you shouldn't be playing. I should. This is hold on a second. I'm a bleeping professional, and you guys just went and got the flower. And so I love this. And I guess here's my question. Would you rather be faced with the dilemma of Cam Talbot struggling and Kaapo Kähkönen can't do the job, or the dilemma of which one are we going to start because they're both playing so well? Like, this is such a good problem. This is only a bad problem potentially on a team that has divisiveness, right? Like, half the room is Fleury, our guy should start. Half the room is Talbot, no, our guy should start. That's a negative. But this group is so cohesive. Phil, I think what you just said is spot on, but I think it's all positive.
So what? Okay, I'm going to throw a hypothetical out here, and believe me, this is a hypothetical. If Cam Talbot keeps playing the best he's played all season over the next month, in however many starts he gets when Marc-Andre Fleury is not starting, and Fleury starts, and Fleury plays well too, so they're both playing like fairly well. Does Marc-Andre Fleury start all the playoff games? Do you mix and match? Is it 75-25? What do you do in the playoffs if Talbot keeps playing this way?
I think you do what Jacques Lemaire did in 2003, which is you start one guy, ride the hot hand until it cools slightly, and then the guy who's been the backup, challenged by that, right, comes in, and you hope he gets hot. And so the playoffs are so long and they're so tough that I think if you find a goaltender, like if in game 1, if Talbot allows a goal or just plays great, I don't think that you say, well, we've got 2 guys, so has to be a rotation. But I think that there is a case to be made that you ride the hot hand. Mm-hmm. But what's great about it is if they get along, if they're in lockstep, there's no problem there. The problem is if they don't get along and that there's some animosity. But I think that these 2 are going to be fine. So I think that the support system becomes the most important thing. But yeah, I don't think it's, well, we have to start Fleury here, Talbot here, Fleury here, Talbot here. I think it's who's hot. And the guy who's hot starts, and the guy behind him hopefully supports him in full. Again, it's such a good problem compared to where we sat 3 weeks ago when it was just a blundering, dundering mess of hodgepodge goals going in. This is such a good place to be.
Love it. Cam Talbot, goalie number 1.
I'm positive today.
And we're back to Judd.
You're not going to get to me. I'm not going to fly to the Pacific Northwest to slap you. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I think you're up here. You're up here, Will.
Oh boy, yeah. Will's up. Let's see here. So Dex got the important note in about the issues. Oh, you know what? I will follow Phil's up with this one. Saturday night. Let's go back to that. And I'm just going to put this with a simple statement. The flower blooms. The flower blooms. Marc-Andre Fleury in start one. Now, he made 23 saves. So it's not like Cam made, 40 saves on 42 shots. So Fleury didn't have to be spectacular, but he was certainly solid. Every time the puck touched the man's stick, the crowd went nuts. They come back and win in OT, and it was so much fun. I really think, it's not to this point, but I really think it did have at least the feel of Favre as a Viking, just in the sense of, it's like, oh my God, Marc-Andre Fleury's in goal for the Wild. Yeah. Like, what's going on here? It felt weird. There was a post-game quote from Spurgeon where he basically said at one point before a face-off, he looked back in his own goal and Fleury was stretching. And he's like, that's Marc-Andre Fleury stretching in our goal. It's just, the vibe is cool. The vibe is so cool there. And 3 weeks ago, we were concerned about goaltending. The team was talking about being mentally weak, like all of those things. And Saturday and Sunday was just sort of an affirmation of this team right now really appears to be in a really good place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, like you said, it's fun. Like, it's the fact that they made a splash move, whether it works or not, it's the right move. It's a Hall of Famer. It's a guy with 3 cups, and he's just in goal for the Wild now. Like, it's a blast, man.
And his personality counts too. Like he's a charismatic. He talks to the posts. There's just something about him that's goofy, but goofy is fun. Like, it's not a Mr. Serious in goal. You know, I don't talk on.
Who was that pitcher for the Tigers back in the day that used to talk to the ball?
Mark the Bird Fidrich.
Mark Fidrich. Just like yelling.
One of the great stories in baseball history. The Bird. He talked to the baseball.
Bird.
He would get the ball back and talk to it.
Have you ever seen Mark Fidrich?
No. No, actually,
dude, go watch a YouTube video. He had like 2 great ears or something. It was like he'd get the ball and he would like yell at the ball and then caress the ball.
He would get down on the mound, as I recall, and manicure it too.
Yeah, with his hands.
He would like play with the mound. Andex, great hair. The Bird had great hair.
Love that.
A lot of people. I feel like more people in the 70s had great hair. No.
This is very true. It grew wildly. Good point.
Wow. Pun intended. All right, back to Dex.
My statement on the Wild goaltending, not dilemma, because it's not a problem. This is a luxury. So Talbot has won the 7 straight starts, and that was a feat, too, we were in the middle of before even Marc-Andre Fleury was acquired. And now when you plug in Fleury, you basically give yourself the best tandem in the league, and you need 2 guys to be leading this charge. And what other better guy to have in your back corner or front corner than Marc-Andre Fleury? I'm going to assume that Fleury starts game 1 in the postseason. I'm going to assume he's going to start game 1 when the playoffs roll around. And I would probably bet, unless it's an embarrassingly bad performance, he'd even get game 2 if they were to drop the first game in a playoff series. But also, Marc-Andre is used to this. This happened in Vegas last year. They were rotating him and Rob Leonard in and out of the playoffs last season. He was used to this in Pittsburgh with Matt Murray. So this is something that Marc-Andre Fleury is completely used to doing. And this is a good problem to have if you're the Wild's sake trying to figure out who can start for you. Because right now, Talbot's playing out of his mind. I don't think it's sustainable because he has done this now numerous times where he's had stretches this season where he looks great, and then he's had stretches where he's borderline unplayable. So I don't think that the way Cam Talbot's playing over this 7 games is the Talbot you're going to see for the rest of the season and throughout the playoffs. But Marc-Andre Fleury is also used to splitting the net, and he knows how to handle that on the ice and off the ice, and that's a luxury for the Wild to have when the playoffs roll around.
So, speaking of those playoffs, are they? So right now, if the playoffs started, they would be they'd be playing Nashville.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even if they dropped below Nashville, they would still be playing Nashville, right?
Unless St. Louis jumps Nashville. Yes.
Okay. So right now, it's likely they're going to play Nashville in the first round, especially because the Wild have 2 games in hand to remain ahead of Nashville. And then
the Blues are how far? The Blues though are how far back points wise? I think they're very close to the Predators. No, of the Wild, they're 4 back.
You're right. They're one. Actually, they're 1 back with 2 games in hand. So
you're going to play. Yes. So you're going to play.
St. Louis is the more likely matchup there at this point.
Yes, but you know, but the Blues are tough, and so are the Wild now.
Hockey Whisper has another thought here, but first, he'd like to tell you, it's going to be 40 degrees in the Twin Cities today. A little bit of a cold stretch here, but spring continues to punch its way through, which means riding season is upon us. Spring and summer months are great if you like to ride, whether it's a Harley, Indian, Metric Cruiser, Sport Bike. Dennis Kirk has you covered, and they've been a great partner of ours here at Score North. Show us your ride. I mean, if you got pictures of your ride, you're proud. You're a proud biker. Send us your pictures and show us some love. Dennis Kirk, over 160,000 parts and accessories in stock. Same day shipping on orders placed before 8 p.m. Rock solid service. DennisKirk.com. Ride more, wait less. All right, here's my second statement. We are witnessing the greatest individual season in Wild history with Kirill Kaprizov. So he is currently with 18 games left to play. 18 games. They're going to try and play. I think it's 18, right? They're going to try and cram 18 games into basically 31 days or something.
18 games. Yep.
So buckle up. But Kaprizov is 2 points off Marian Gabourik's wild record for points in a season with 83. Judd, you pulled an upper deck Kaprizov?
Graphics. We got graphics now.
That's our
B-roll. Don't ever say Mackey and Judd don't have B-roll, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, actually, can you put the stats on the screen?
I think it's
turn that card over.
It just got last year's stats. Yeah, it's just last year.
Our graphics department needs the whole season to be over before we.
Hey, Stella, get the graphics ready.
If you want to see these graphics, subscribe to the Score North YouTube channel. 15,000 subscribers, 25,000 on Purple Daily. Thank you guys for making our show the growth machine that it is. So Kaprizov is 2 points off Marian Gabourik's wild record of 83 points in the season. He's 5 points off Pierre-Marc Bouchard's assists record of 50, and he's 6 goals off Marian Gabourik's goals record. So if he stays healthy for these last 30 days or so of the regular season, he's going to check all those boxes. He's going to flirt with 100 points for the first time. I mean, no one's ever had 90 points in Wild history. Yeah. And he's going to flirt with 100. This is the greatest individual season in Wild history.
Yes, and I don't think it's particularly close, to be honest. I mean, Gaborik had some fun years, and he could score. But keep in mind, Gaborik's scoring was suppressed by Jacques Lemaire's system, and his complete game didn't touch Kaprizov's. Like, he wanted to cherry pick in neutral, get the pass, and go score. Kaprizov plays a complete game. And the one thing that struck me that I don't know if people thought about this during the course of the game on Sunday, but I think so when you have a goaltender who basically does what Talbot did, which is just stand on his head and give you a chance. You also
just like we knew he was going to do the rest of the season.
No, because 3 weeks ago I kept saying just trust in Cam, trust in Cam, don't trade for the flower. But I think the second prong to that statement about you have to have that type of goaltending is this: do you have a player who you trust, no matter how the game is going, can win you that game? Like, do you have that guy? Because, previously, if it's like, okay, you're going to have to trust Zach Parise. Zach Parise is a good player, and he worked hard. But you didn't say he is going to score that goal.
He was going to do the work, and it
was always a pleasant surprise, right? Oh, my God, they scored! Kaprizov, there's almost this, and you watch him, it's the expectations not just from the fans or the team, it's from the player, too. You watch him, Phil, and there's this dynamic thing that takes off about him that you think, okay, if you keep this close, he's got a chance to tie it, or in this case, win the game. And that, to me, is such a difference. For years we saw Patrick Kane, right? A guy like that who could just win a game. And the Wild never came close. Well, now they've got that guy. And I really think, I got this question on Twitter a couple days ago. Somebody said, where would you rank Kaprizov right now in players, in star players in the league period? And I said, I think he has to be top 10.
Yeah.
I really do think he has to be top 10. I know that's a bold statement, but with what he brings, and Phil, to your point, I don't even think what you said is like semi-debatable.
So here's another interesting thing about scoring. I'm just trying to find this here, but it looks like only 13 times in Wild history have they had 30-goal seasons. 13 times in 13 instances, some of them in the same season.
Yeah.
They're on pace if Fiala can score 8 more goals and if Hartman can get 3. I don't think there's any doubt about. So Kaprizov's already over 30.
37.
So 36 or whatever it is. 36.
Yep.
Have they ever had 2 guys? 07, 08? 06, 07. Rolston had 31 and Gaborik had 30.
Okay.
07, 08. Rolston had 31. Gaborik had 42. And then 17, 18. Stahl had 42 and Zucker over the corner had 33. So you've had 3 different instances where they've had 2 guys score 30 or more. But this could also be the first time in Wild history we have 3 30-goal scorers on the same team.
Yep. And I think I saw a stat that this is the first time in franchise history they've had 2 guys with 40-plus assists or something like that.
Yeah.
Zuccarello's got, I mean, he's had a phenomenal year. It's hard.
He already eclipsed his career high for points, which is a ding on Write That
he's
Down.
look good. Man, he's look good.
Look at you. Just racking them. Racking them. All right, Judd.
All right, so here's my statement, and then I'm going to have a word of caution and then explain. My statement is this. Now, this is a team. Now, I need to non-trigger Phil here because what I'm about to talk about is not about fisticuffs, okay? So I'm not talking about they went out and physically started a fight. But when Kaprizov scored yesterday and Devin Tays, a defenseman for the Avs, cross-checked him hard. It was a BS cross-check. It was completely, the play was dead. The goal was scored. It could have hurt him. It didn't because he's strong as an ox. But anyway, you know what happened? Little Mets Zuccarello didn't pull the old Granlund move of, excuse me, Mr. Tays, can I get by you to go celebrate my teammate's goal? Matt Zuccarello went after Tays and confronted him, and they gathered, and nobody fought. There wasn't punches, but the point is, this is what a team does, especially this time of year in the sport. What you don't do is say, we scored, haha, time to celebrate, please move. You say, what did you just do to our star player? Because your star player must be protected or at least stood up for. I think that's the better term is this, must be stood up for. And in that sense, I love the fact that at every turn, this team acts like a team, which is this. It's very simple. They act like they care about their teammates. And I don't care how much people hate to hear this. Declan knows this is true as well. For years, we had things like that happen exactly, where guys would be like, oh, you got hit. I'm sorry about that. Let's celebrate. Or, oh, we lost. That's too bad. There was no accountability anyway. And now it's everywhere. I think that this team holds each other accountable. And more importantly, when an opponent steps out of line with their teammate, they hold them accountable. Doesn't mean that you have to drop the gloves and fight, but it does mean that there has to be some type of passion towards the project.
Yeah.
And in that goal, we saw that very thing. And Kaprizov actually then went to Matt's and dragged him off Tays. He's like, don't. But the point is, Zuccarello took the most important first step, in my opinion, of saying, no, dude, I've got your back. This team has each other's back.
I think where I agree is there's a certain element in all sports of showing the other team who controls the action. That we are in control of the action here, and it doesn't mean that we're going to be bullies and pick fights, but sometimes it might require that. But we are dictating, we are controlling, and we are holding you accountable if you step out of line. And I think it happens with offensive linemen or defensive linemen in the NFL. It happens in NBA games. I mean, how many times have you seen the Timberwolves just get punked, right? So like the Timberwolves against the Lakers a couple weeks ago, it was a little bit of a weird way to do it, but they were showing the Lakers by sort of taunting them, we're in control here, guys. This is no longer your Western Conference. It's not ours yet either,
right?
As has been proven in
but
some
it's an
ways,
important step.
Sure.
Agree totally.
Yeah, I think I can get with you there. Speaking of control, by the way, you want to make sure if you're a guy, you want to get your health under control. Okay, you want to dictate your health. You just want to hold yourself accountable.
You mean if you're an aging guy?
Well, you could be aging, or you could be even like in your 30s. It could be any of us here. Declan entering his 30s. I'm in my mid-30s, entering my late 30s. Here soon, Judd has entered his 50s. And if you're any of those ages, you should enter Mayo Clinic. They have 2 locations, Mayo Clinic Rochester and a new clinic in Mayo Clinic Square, Minneapolis, right across from Target Center and First Ave. underground parking. And if you think it's time to, well, not even if you think, like it probably is time to see a urologist, especially if you get into your 30s and 40s, someone who can help with prostate, urinary, sexual health, menshealth.mayoclinic.org. They are taking appointments, menshealth.mayoclinic.org. All right, any other wild statements from you guys?
I'm good.
We covered the gamut there. Judd's Hockey Show, people can find.
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, I have a statement. It's more of a plea.
Okay.
I need help. I need help. So you guys are dog owners. Declan is sort of a new dog owner here with Vinny. Judd with Stella. Stella's been around the block a couple times. It's been a while since I've been a dog parent. Had dogs growing up, but like usually it was like my parents would handle the hard stuff. Been a cat owner throughout my life. But we adopted little Maya Mackey, little 3-year-old Chihuahua Terrier mix from the Humane Society over the weekend. She's amazing. She is very loving. She's also not the most potty or house trained yet. And I'm just looking for any sort of wisdom from you guys on how to navigate the next month or two.
Puppy pads is my first bit of advice. Now they will be obstinate sometimes and intentionally avoid them, but I do know that some pups are pretty good about them, and so I would go out or order puppy pads and put those down in the main areas where she has a tendency to have her accidents.
Does that, like, my only question there is, does that encourage, because the goal is to like make it not okay anywhere in the house regardless of puppy pad, right?
I'm just saying, I mean, yes, ideally, absolutely. But I'm just saying if you want to preserve your rugs and things like that, there's probably a fine line here between laying down the law and making sure the wife doesn't take the dog back at some point in time. I'm throwing it out there as
she's going to.
I don't think it's she's going to. Yeah, I think we know who would.
Oh, see, that would not be me. But anyway, it might not be ideal. But like, if you have a rug that you really like or something, and you don't want any accidents on, I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, we did install, because we have sort of a row house with like 3 or 4. It's like 3.5 levels, and so we installed a little doggy gate at the main level so that the basement levels, including my studio here, but she's like trying to break down because she can hear me down here, like she knows I'm down here, so she's been trying to break through the
trying to, because she's got tanks. I know. She's got tanks, dude. Like, what do you expect?
She's got a flag, isn't she?
Yep. She's got a wolf flag. It's like, no, don't fly the wolf flag today. No, fly the wild flag. We got both sides of the flag. It's like, yep.
I have puppy pads installed in my, like, if you came into my house, you're like, what are these weird pads? Just
do you ever get drunk and use them yourself?
I have shockingly not. And Friday night, there definitely was a case to be made. I could have used one, and I did not. I would say it's easier different because I had a puppy. I had a little puppy dog, and the puppy, and from my side, was staying at the girlfriend's parents with her, and there's another dog there, so it kind of has helped teach Vinny the ropes a little bit.
Okay.
But we were really adamant the first, like, it was like it stunk during a sleepy time during the first few weeks, but just like every 3 hours we were taking that dog outside.
Yeah, that's
every 3 hours, every 3 hours. And that's, I think, the best way to go about that right now.
So like every 2 or 3 hours, and then eventually, like, over the course of time, you can have it be more like 4 hours or 5 hours or something.
The puppy pads are more for probably at night as well, because like you lose track of them. That's the problem.
And that's the other thing. It's like we did get a crate, and I mean the amount of YouTube videos and articles that we have read over the past, even like as dog owners throughout our lives, just like to brush up. And so we're debating like just the thought of putting a sweet little dog in a crate.
I know.
You know what strikes?
Sometimes you have to start there and create some discipline and some boundaries. You know,
I wouldn't personally do this because I don't care. But you strike me as the type of guy who might want to actually take your pup to an obedience class type of thing.
So absolutely, yes.
Like you strike me because like, but then you'll get answers like you want. You're different than I am in that sense. Like, I feel like you want the game plan. I don't. I just don't care about it. But you do, which is fine.
So Stella can just kind of do whatever she wants. And
she runs the house, and I just don't care. I mean, it goes Stella, Dawn, Judd, 6.
Yeah,
So does Stella just like poop on the floor and pee on the floor whenever she wants to? Or
No, hopefully she doesn't pee on the floor. That would be an accident. But I mean, she's been known to poop, and if she's a little dog, I clean it up. I'm not real happy about it, but I'm also not.
Judd's dog parenting strategy. Just do whatever. Who cares?
I'm also not just. It's why I'm not a parent. Like, it's so funny. It's like
That's why.
You didn't have kids. You don't understand. I didn't have kids because I would have been a terrible parent. I would have been the fun parent who didn't care. Or I would have cared, but I wouldn't have cared enough. And anyway, but I think that an obedience class for Maya would probably be your best bet, because then you could actually like consult with a person who could tell you what you're doing right and wrong.
Yeah, that's going to happen at some point, like probably sometime in April. I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in Champlin, Minnesota, and then eventually we moved to Corcoran in Buffalo. But when we were in our house in Champlin, I remember as a kid, we got just a fluffy terrier, like a Spitz Terrier named Katie, just the white, fluffiest. And I was too little to remember this, but like my mom told me several years later that I was asking my stepdad about this. My mom died 4 years ago. I said, so when when Katie came along, what was the deal there? I said, well, I'm glad you asked. Humane Society, and they're wonderful, but they had some misinformation on Katie. They said, oh, so she's 2 or 3 years old, which she was, but she is shed-free and fully house-trained. And within the first hour and a half of being in the house, a tornado of fur and poops everywhere.
Oh,
my God.
But obedience school turned it into like, any sort of command you wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it worked. That's good.
Yeah.
I've thought about doing it too, even though Vinny's mostly listens pretty well in general. But I will say someone, and you guys you already know this too, because I never grew up with a dog, but I've always wanted a dog. And I used to dog sit and dog watch and walk dogs all the time, neighborhood dogs and whatnot. But my advice is someone has to be the good cop and someone has to be the bad cop. And definitely I am the bad cop with Vinny. And even yesterday, finally, because I use Vincent if I need his attention or he's being naughty. And for one of the first times I said, I snapped, I said, Vincent. And he did the cowardly and put the ears back, so he knew he was in
knows
trouble.
both versions of his name?
Yes. He knows Vinny and Vincent. Okay. Yes, he does.
That's good. Is he named after Vinny Chase from Entourage?
No. So when she was suggesting names and she said, actually, I wanted Vito. I wanted Vito. I wanted Vito. That's what I want. She's an Italian bred. My girlfriend's a very Italian family. I'm Irish, so it's forbidden love in general. But she wanted Vinny really bad, and I was like, I like Vincent. And then she's like, nope, it's gonna be Vinny. And then I started thinking, and I was like, well, I do love Entourage. And this dog's a little Vinny Chase. So this actually works out really, really well.
You're Irish and she's Italian?
Yeah.
Oh, God, if you get married, the fights are going to be epic.
Oh, God, I know. Yeah,
and the kid,
Irish,
oh, boy.
Yeah.
Woo! I'm
By the way,
staying away from your house.
This dog, we found out that, her name is Addison, but it was just like a shelter name. So we're like, she doesn't like respond.
Stella had one too.
So, okay. Do you remember what Stella's shelter name was? Jasmine?
Yeah, it sounds like a stripper. We weren't going to stick with that one. Please welcome to the patio deck, Jasmine. All right, gentlemen, get out your money for Jasmine.
Amazing.
Tuesday night special.
So if you guys have advice, just hit me up. Send me some tweets at Phil Mackey. DMs are open. We're trying.
How big is your dog going to get? Do you know?
Well, she's 3, so she's full grown. She's 18 pounds.
And she's just a little thing, or
I don't know. She's like a small, medium-sized dog.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. She's full of love. She just doesn't know where to poop sometimes. So yeah, we've all been there.
Same.
I'm not judging.
That's the least of your exactly right.
Friday, I had White Castle last night. That was a whole thing.
Who knows where to poop after White
Castle?
Castle?
What are you doing to yourself?
Yeah,
Call me for advice. I've been through these things before. I can tell you, don't have White Castle.